Hey, everybody. I get this question all the time during tax season. What is the best way to donate to my church or any charity for that matter? So we got to understand the standard deduction versus itemizing and find out the best way to do this. So first things first, we have extremely generous standard deductions. This means that the first $13,850 of a single tax return is not taxable income. Okay. So we get to deduct that out of taxable income right away. And if you're over 65, you get an additional $1,850. If you're married and both over 65, you're looking at over $30,000 of tax-free income because of a standard deduction, okay? So we have the choice to just take the standard deduction, or we can itemize our deductions. And for those of you that are charitable and give to charities, that is a line item that we can deduct on our itemized deduction list. But the problem is, when we look at this list of itemized deductions, our opportunities are very limited. We can write off interest from a mortgage. Okay, a lot of retirees don't have mortgages anymore. Medical, well, the first 7.5% of your income is not taxable, or it's not deductible, sorry. So if you had, say, $10,000 worth of medical expenses that you were going to try to write off, but say you had $100,000 worth of income, well, then you have to deduct $7,500 from that $10,000, and that means you can only write off $2,500 worth of medical expenses. Boy, that's going to be tough, especially when we have Medicare and Medicare supplements, and we're very limited on the medical expenses that we're going to run into out there. Sometimes maybe a big dental year, things like that cause that. And then the state and local taxes, we're very limited on what we can write off there as well. So itemizing, boy, I don't see people itemizing very often. It has to be an extravagant year. Big dental expenses are one that I see quite often. Most retirees don't have a mortgage, but if you've got a big mortgage in retirement, you may end up itemizing as well. Some states have great property taxes that you have to pay, so you can write those off, but you're limited to $10,000. So the vast majority of us, when we're faced donating to a charity, what we don't realize is that we don't actually get a tax benefit because we're just going to take the standard deduction, right? So that doesn't really seem fair. Well, for people over 70 and a half, they have what's called a qualified charitable distribution. So only from your IRA money and only from people over 70 and a half, you can take money from an IRA and send it to a charity, including a church, okay? This, believe it or not, is magical on a tax return, and it's wonderful. So what makes it a qualified charitable distribution? Well, first of all, it has to come directly from the IRA. So the custodian holding on to the IRA money has to be the one sending it to the charity. You have to be over 70 and a half. And you want to make sure you retain some form of proof that it went directly from your IRA and directly to a charity. Okay, it has to be a 501c3. It has to be a genuine, real charity. Okay, so to make that happen, it's pretty easy. You just call your Schwab, Fidelity, Edward Jones, whoever it is that holds on to that money, say, send $5,000 to my church. Wonderful. Okay, so my example is a little bigger, so we see the math here. Here we go. On the tax return and on the 1099 you receive from that account, it should show the full distribution. So my example here is we had $70,000 withdrawn from the IRA. We had 20,000 of it go to a charity, and the other 50 we had deposited in our own account. So if you had a huge IRA and your required distribution was $70,000, you could easily just have 20,000 or any portion of it or all of it sent directly to a charity. And what you notice is the taxable amount says QCD, just denoting the difference between the distribution and the taxable amount was a qualified charitable distribution. And there it's only 50,000. So effectively, we just reduced $20,000 out of our taxable income. Because anytime you withdraw money from an IRA, it is taxable. But in this case, it went directly to a charity. So $20,000 of that $70,000 distribution was not taxable. You did not have to itemize. You did not have to you didn't have to worry about any of that. It was immediately removed from your income. And now, after we did that on the tax return, your standard deduction is in addition to this deduction. Okay, so if you're married, you just got a $20,000 deduction for that charitable contribution, and your standard deduction is over $30,000. So that's the most efficient way by far, to donate to any charity. So if you're over 70 and a half, you have an advantage over everybody else. You have to donate directly from your IRA. It is called a qualified charitable distribution, and you can call the custodian of your IRA and have them do that anytime, as long as you're over 70 and a half. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that clearly answers the question, what's the best way to donate? If you're under 70 and a half, you just donate because you want to donate, and most likely you're not going to get a tax benefit. I apologize for that. A lot of people don't like hearing that, but it's what's been going on for quite a while since we changed the standard deduction to a nice, big, huge dollar amount. All right. If we can help in any way, let us know. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Share this with friends. The more people that know about these qualified charitable distributions, the better off we all are. We can utilize those to our best advantage. We don't want to pay more taxes than we have to, obviously. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.